All right, guys, good morning. How's everybody doing today? Good. Cool. All right, guys, it is 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Hope you all slept well, ready to rest, ready to rock on these markets. November 29th here, guys. Remember, this is the last week of November. Then we're going into the last month of the year, obviously December. And this is a reminder to follow your rules and trade your plan. Let's go over this morning's trade plan and break down the indexes and news events that we have. So yesterday we had that Jerome Powell speech, which was really market-moving news. Before the bell at 3 a.m., ECB President Draghi spoke. After the bell, 8:30 initial jobless claims and core personal consumption expenditures, as well as personal spending and personal income. At 10 a.m. pending home sales. At 10:30 we're going to have the natural gas storage change, and at 2 p.m. we're going to have the FOMC meeting minutes from the November 7th and 8th meeting. For our trend biases of the prior day, the S&P was bullish, the Nasdaq was bullish, Dow was bullish, and so was the Russell. Overnight, ES is neutral, Nasdaq neutral, Dow neutral, Russell neutral. Shorter term time frame, ES is bullish, Nasdaq bullish, Dow bullish, Russell bullish, and on the midterm time frame, neutral ES, neutral Nasdaq, neutral Dow, neutral Russell, and on the longer term time frame, same thing, neutral all four indexes. For our previous day's summary, take a look here. The bell-to-bell high in the S&P 500, 27.45. The bell-to-bell low, all the way down at 26.84 quarter. Big move, guys. Settlement was 27.41 half, and the value area high right here is 27.36 quarter. Point of control 27.93. That's wrong. 26.93. And then value area low is 26.92 quarter. So both of those are all the way down here. European close also at 26.92 half at the lower end of the range. Volume was 1,780,000 contracts. Overnight highs so far in the S&Ps 27.42. Overnight low 27.28.75. Floor trader pivot points, support and resistance levels. R4A all the way up at 28.63. R3 28.23.75. R2 27.84 quarter. R1 27.63. The pivot point for the day comes in at 27.23 half. S1 27.02 quarter. S2 26.62.75. S3 all the way down at 26.41 half. And S4 is 26.20. Hopefully we don't get all the way down there today. For our index strength percentage change from the settlements for the trading days only, the S&P was up 2.16%, Nasdaq up 3%, Dow 2.43%, Russell 2.29%. So Nasdaq led the way. Over the last 5 days now, the Nasdaq's almost up 6%. Big move. And these markets year to date are almost all back to positive, which is good. Good news for the end of the year. We're going into December here on Monday, or we'll be trading in the month of December. But the Russell is the only market that has a negative performance for the year of 2018 at this point in time. But really big move to the upside coming out of basically what was Thanksgiving lows around that time frame. It's a nice light volume consolidation. We've gotten quite the squeeze here. So best performer yesterday was the Nasdaq, and if you look at some of those stocks like Amazon, I mean, they just had absolutely massive moves, and the weakest market actually was the S&P. So let's take a look here. at these markets. I'll show you guys kind of what I'm expecting. I do want to go over the commodities. Everything is interesting right now. Sometimes we go through phases where oil's not interesting or gold's not interesting and the indexes are, and other times we go into phases where the gold and oil are not interesting and the indexes are, or the other way around. But right now I'd say everything is tradable. To actually trade all of these markets at the same time is pretty difficult, so you definitely want to pick and choose, but I'll go over all of them here. Now, I do want to talk about oil here first, just because I always like to, when I do begin my morning trade plan, I point out what was the things I highlighted previously and that happened and reacted the way I thought. And for me, that is oil here today. So I want to talk about this specifically. Now, oil had the high of November 16th drawn to the low of the 20th, pulled into a 50% retracement on the 21st. Our first negative 23% profit target, that was 51.50, and the negative 61 was 49.44. Okay, that 49.44 completed yesterday. We dipped in 3 ticks, or I should say in the overnight session. We dipped in 3 ticks and then ripped and began a leg start. I also had this level, it was like 49.25 marked up here. We didn't quite get it on the January contract. I don't know if we did on the December contract, but we have traded down into that support level here in oil and had a really good reaction. Now, one of the things the trend has been down in oil. So the first thing to do is for me to pull up what I would think to be the next major resistance level. And that is from Wednesday, the 21st of November, to the most recent low here. That 50% retracement is 52.64, and that is where I have this marked up. Now, going into the overnight session, it was a very strange draw, but it was basically last Thursday's high to the low. That's what we got rejected from, but it's not necessarily something I would typically pay attention to, and it's not something I would really ever take a trade on. That high of yesterday too low has broke above a 61.8. I am interested in a 50% retracement long here at the 50.44 level on a first test only. So the first time it trades, whether that's today or tomorrow, I do not know. But 50.44 is a level I am interested in for potential support. And then otherwise resistance is at 52.64. I have alerts on both of those levels, patiently waiting. For the NASDAQ, all right, so from the overnight session, it's been lower highs and lower lows as soon as the market reopened. Yesterday was a big short squeeze. We came out of a lot of consolidation, and that's when you got that huge move. A lot of people were on the wrong side of that market. There's a couple of levels I have below. Now, when you blow out into these types of moves, we typically are going to trade down into an extension. So I have 2 possible anchors right now, and I would respect the first test of the 38 and 50% retracement on both of them. The first anchor that I have here in the NASDAQ is the high before the breakout. 68.63 is a 38% retracement, and 68.44 quarters a 50% retracement. The other possibility I have is the high of Tuesday, too high. Okay, and that 38% retracement lines up right along with this 50% retracement right here. Okay, so that is going to be like a double zone at that 68.42. I don't know if we're going to get there because there is 4 levels in front of that. So I'm just going to watch these. It'll basically, the first one will be 68, 62, 63 level, and then it'll be 68, 43, 68, 44 zone. So those are the 2 major levels I'm watching here in the NASDAQ. Those hold and catch a bid, we will have a continuation up into what I expect to be the 69.60 level as our next resistance. So that's what I would expect out of the NASDAQ. Now, the Dow was really strong. I really like the way the Dow traded yesterday. We might not even, there is extensions that have held on the much smaller time frame that we might not even pull back into this higher level extension. There is, I have to go to like a tick chart to literally see it. But the extension here, I believe it began at 25,092. It was like once to target, twice to target. Here's 3 times. Here's 4 times. Here's the 5th time. Okay, so I'm going to leave that up. If we get below these lows, I'm just going to mark up both the 50 and the 38 too with just vertical or horizontal levels. But right now, the Dow has come off this extension and targets up into 25,432. That's 100 points above where we are currently trading. All right. For gold, gold had a very large reversal. Now this is the GC G19 contract, which is the February 2019 contract for gold. This chart will look different if you just use the continuous. So if you just type in GC to your thinkorswim, it's not going to look like this. This is the February price action. We had a 50% retracement going into that Jerome Powell speech. And Jerome Powell's speeches, I mean, put it on your calendar. Some of the biggest moves have come in gold the day he talks. I believe October 11th was a Jerome Powell speech, and gold had a 35-point range on the day. And then, of course, yesterday, perfect rally into a 50% retracement. We stuck it, ripped. That gives us upside targets of this 1244.8. So I do think that gold over the next week or so begins to move through. Right now, what is the current resistance level? I have a leg start here at the 1232.8 zone. So as soon as you can see the resistance at that both yesterday and today. As soon as we can start clearing through 1232.8, we should run up into those prior highs. And then through those prior highs, once we get through 1236.7, I think we're going to have a really clean move here all the way up to that profit target. So I'm going to I like to kind of highlight when I see like a clear move, like a breakout where we can just run. So if we get above 1236, if you don't want to take trades down here, totally get it. We get above this 1236, 1237 level, the pullbacks leading up into that, we have, 1244 targets. That's going to be something pretty clean. And then if we can really, gold has been winding up for some time, but when you do get these breakouts, they've been running pretty hard. We also, on the higher time frame, the low going back to August to high, all right, that has targets up at 1268. So there's multiple upside targets here in gold. I do find it really interesting, but we need to get through some resistance levels. Right now, the only tradable support level, the only trade I'm actually interested in is down here at 1229.8. So unless we come back down towards the lower level of this range or break above, we'd have to break above 1232.8, then buy a pullback. Otherwise, I'm not interested in it. But on those other higher time frames, possibly setting up in tomorrow or next week above that 1236, pay attention to it. I'm actually going to bring this over here. All right, so that's what I have for gold here today. For the S&P 500, guys, we have an extension. Once again, I have to go down to a tick chart time frame to see this anchor. But yesterday, this anchor held multiple times, and I even have it slightly off. The anchor I am using is, from the tick chart, is 2707 to high. So 2707 high is pulled back into its 38% retracement here. Into its 38% retracement, and that I have it targeting up into 2755, and if we get aggressive bids here today, that is totally on deck. I have no major resistance until we retest the full halfway back short from the swing high of the year, which is September's highs to lows. We failed from that 61.8 initially. I do believe we will come back for a second test of this 2774. So for those of you guys who are super bullish, looking for a multi-day swing, you're going to get that up into that 2774 before seeing any major resistance. So that's where I'm expecting this market to go. on the higher time frame, and I will let you guys know if I see a trend break, but right now these indexes are bullish. Upside targets are 27.59 area, 27.54 here. And on a continuation, if we can get through these overnight highs, I would expect that to trade. Now, if we don't see the bids off the open and we're looking a little weak, my bigger pullback, the level that we would check down into would be 27.2175. Even if that level traded, we would still be bullish. I would prefer that level traded because the harder we dip here, the more room we have to run to targets. So I would prefer a dip down to 27, 21, 29 for an ideal scenario. But if we get bids straight off the open and we hold continued strength through, it's just going to be a move through highs up into 27.54. And for the Russell, the Russell's the one I'm kind of least interested in here today. Now, the Russell had a fantastic halfway back long yesterday. For anybody who caught this move, highlighted this zone here at 1488.4. That had an upside profit target yesterday at like 1526. We had a same day completion. That's pretty rare. But what I'd be interested in the Russell right now, if we got down to like 1511 here, actually I have a level at 1516.3 and then 1511. Other than that, if we're going to hold extensions, the high to high sequences, I'm more interested in playing the other markets than the Russell. So the Russell would not be, not that I'm not bullish it, but if we're going to continue straight up here, I'm more interested in the Dow, I'm more interested in the S&P, I'm more interested in the Nadex. So I'm going to be having a less aggressive support level here in the Russell, just because it's just been weaker for me. I mean, in the Russell yesterday was the market that basically made a new low before it ripped out higher, and then the shorts just got crushed. But that right now is going to conclude my morning trade plan. I will share my levels with you guys in the room here, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the MLT Power Hour. If there's any questions about anything here, you feel free to let me know. Everyone have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you guys here in a few minutes on the MLT Power Hour. Take care.